Turns out the NBA's conference finals will continue. We'll be looking ahead to Game 5 of Mavs T-Wolves in just a little bit. But first, we've got not one, not two, but three plays in Major League Baseball for you today. Mark Zinno, you are up first. Both of us will be looking at first five selections in our daily double play. You are zeroed in on an AL Central matchup between the Royals and Twins.
Yeah, we get Seth Lugo on the mound for Kansas City here, BP. One of the more dominant starters in Major League Baseball, an 8-1 record, a sub-1 whip, and a sub-2 ERA. These are the kind of numbers that are eye-popping. The Royals are 8-3 when he toes the rubber on the year. Now, they in this series, in the third game of this series, which has been priced sort of weird. In the first two games, they have both been won by Minnesota. They have both been won by 2 runs or less, 6-5 in the opener and a 4-2 in the second game. So Kansas City, who has been one of the most profitable teams in Major League Baseball this year when it comes to the run line, is a team right now that is facing losing 3 straight here. We don't see that happen with them very often. So I think the spot in the situation works really well for them. Bailey Ober, who's been good for the Twins, but not used to what we're seeing. 5-2 record, a 4.3 ERA, and a 1.04 whip. He was a lot more dominant last year, but I think we get Kansas City in a great spot here after losing the first 2 games of this series. They'll want to get ahead early. I think they will. And their bats, KC, look, they don't stay silent long. After scoring 2 runs last night and 5 runs in the opener, feels like they could do for some breakout here. Ober continues to have some struggles here when it comes to what he's done at home this season. So I'm going to take advantage of a short price here on Kansas City in the first 5 money line, as they are a slight underdog here, but we get them at even money. So we don't pay any juice here. We'll take Kansas City first 5 money line.
He's looking at a first 5 money line there with the Royals. I'm looking at a first 5 run line, and I'm going to go back to the same matchup I talked about yesterday in the double play, Miami and San Diego. If you listen to the show, you got a good price on San Diego, who won 4-0. They closed as a much higher favorite. That line moved about 20 cents after we did the show. Today, well, the line's a little juicier. So what we're going to do, cut the game in half, lay a half run in the first 5 with you, Darvish, and the Padres here. Now, opposing Darvish will be Braxton Garrett. You take a look at Garrett's last start. You take a look at Darvish's last start. It's an interesting picture. Garrett threw 9 shutout innings, 4 hit ball, complete game victory over Zach Gallen in Arizona. Darvish, meanwhile, really struggled. He gave up 7 runs to the Yankees, but that's just one start, small sample size. Darvish, his 4 starts before that one against the Yankees, he gave up a grand total of 0 runs, guys. He had 24 consecutive scoreless innings. Garrett, oh, by the way, his first 2 starts of the year, he gave up 11 runs in just 9 2/3. So let's not fall into recency bias of what happened last time out. Darvish is the better pitcher here compared to Garrett. I would expect Garrett, maybe he's not as bad as he was against the Mets or Philadelphia in those first 2 starts, but he's not going to be the same guy we saw in Arizona last time out. I mentioned the result yesterday, 4-0 win for the Padres. That is the 4th time this year Miami has been shut out. They are 0-3 off the previous 3. And there are other trends that are not kind as well. 9-18 in road games, 10-16 in day games, 12-24 off a loss for Miami. Look, this is the worst team in the National League, guys. 2nd worst team in all of baseball in my power ratings, ahead of only the lowly White Sox. I think the Padres likely finish off a sweep, but just to reduce our juice, we'll lay the half run in the first 5 with what I believe is a strong starting pitching edge for the San Diego Padres. So Royals money line first 5, Padres run line first 5. That is your double play. And let's just get right into the best bet, Zinno, shall we? NL Central Showdown. Cubs and Brewers. Shota Imanaga. He has not lost a decision all year. Guess what we're doing, guys?
We have extra large huevos here, as we are about to step right in front of Shota Imanaga and his perfect 5-0 record with a 0.84 ERA and a 0.91 whip. It's really hard to have a whip that's higher than an ERA, and that's how good Imanaga has been. 58 strikeouts in under 54 innings. He's only walked 9 batters. He has been absolutely fantastic. There's a reason why he's leading, some of this Rookie of the Year conversation. But the Milwaukee Brewers, Milwaukee, of course, Algonquin for the good land. This is the right spot here to do this and fade Imanaga. Guys, he's not going undefeated the whole entire year, right? And
Nope.
you start to look at some of these numbers here and what he's done in really the last kind of 3 or 4 starts. He's faced a weak hitting Mets lineup, a weak hitting Braves lineup. I know it's crazy to say that, but the Braves have not been scoring runs, and a weak hitting Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. That's not the case for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers against lefties this year at home, they are top 10 and even top 5 in certain cases in batting average, OPS, and WRC plus. Here's the big bugaboo you got to worry about with Milwaukee. Their strikeout rate is 3rd highest against left-handed pitching. That's the only thing I think we worry about here. But I like the spot here for Milwaukee going up against Imanaga, who on the road this year, again, he's been fantastic all around. But this is a little bit of a different environment here on the road. Who's he faced on the road? I told you, Seattle, a team that can't hit. Boston, a team that's kind of iffy. We mentioned the Mets and the Braves. He hasn't really been facing a ton of really good lineups. So I'm not taking anything away from him here. I just think when you talk about a guy who has been this dominant, there's going to be some regression to the mean here. So let's look for the Milwaukee Brewers here to topple Shota Imanaga and get a win.
Yeah, and look, all the focus is going to be on Imanaga, rightly so, Zinno, but, there's a lot of other players on the field, and this, to me, boils down to price. I don't think the Cubs should be favored here. Milwaukee's just simply a better baseball team. You look at the run differential column, okay? The Brew Crew, despite losing last night, they're plus 46 in run differential. The Cubs are minus 4. The odds makers know that everyone wants to play Imanaga, and if you want to, I guess the only way to do it would be first 5, but the Brewers are the better team. They've got the better bullpen. They've got the better offense, okay? They're averaging 5.1 runs per game at home. The Cubs only average 4.3 runs per game on the road. And by the way, last night's game, very misleading final of 6-3. The Cubs put 5 runs on the board in the top of the 10th. That was a 1-1 game going into extras. The Brewers, now they scored their only run in the bottom. Their only run in the first 9 innings in the bottom of the 9th. But still, I think Milwaukee, you look at the big picture, they're just the better team here. And I love this price. So Milwaukee as an underdog is your show best bet. Let us know what you think in the comments section down below. Yes.
Let me add one more thing here. When a pitcher is as dominant as Imanaga has been, and as you mentioned, the public wants to rush to bet him because he's been so good and he's won people a lot of money, right? Like that's just what it boils down to. The Cubs have only lost 1 game that he's pitched this year. So odds makers usually would place a premium on that pitcher, on that game. They would make you pay higher. You would think that the line would be even higher. Instead of this very moderate minus 125, minus 130 range for the Cubs, you'd be seeing 160, 170, and forcing you to pay that premium to bet on a player who has done nothing but take money from sportsbooks since he's appeared in the major leagues. The fact that this number stays low where it is, again, I don't think sportsbooks are baiting you, but they're telling you there is a legitimate opportunity here for Imanaga to lose a game, and just the public is not going to pay attention to it. They're going to go, oh, that's a great price. I'm going to run and go bet the Cubs, and what's going to happen after 9 innings? Imanaga's going to have an L on his forehead.
Heyo, maybe a fishy line, if you will, in that one. But interesting, Imanaga has yet to face any team twice. This is his, 10th start of the season?
Yep.
10 different opponents. I think it's going to be really interesting moving forward, looking at this guy when lineups get to see him a second time. But anyway, Milwaukee tonight is your show best bet. Let us know what you think of that down in the comments section below. If you agree with us, if you just like what you heard today on the program, smash that like button, give us the thumbs up, and of course, make sure you are subscribed to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. That way you don't miss any of our exclusive sports betting content. Mark, it's busy Wednesday, of course. Even though there's no NBA, we'll talk about Game 5 in just a little bit of T-Wolves Mavs. But plenty of baseball. We've given the people 3 looks already. What are you going to have going today over at your page?
We're going to get a couple of baseball plays up here. You and I spoke before the show. We have a lot of baseball to get to now that the NBA is going to take some of these days off here until we get to the NBA Finals. But we split yesterday on the diamond, had a great call with the Braves and Nationals under. Unfortunately, the Orioles did not get it done in the first 5, didn't get it done at all in that game. Grayson Rodriguez was nowhere near what we thought or what I expected him to be. So But we'll get back on the diamond tonight. We'll have 2 plays up for you guys up on the site later today, wt.buzz/MZ.
Yeah, unfortunately, my only play for yesterday was scratched due to a pitching change. I really was hoping Texas was going to send out Dane Dunning. They did not. Nevertheless, we continue to see it. Well, I've told you guys for a while now, NBA 32-16 last 48, soccer 16-5-1 last 22 selections, and now Major League Baseball, despite that scratch yesterday, the no action, we've won 4 straight on the diamond. We will have 4 straight. We will have some MLB for you on Wednesday, and I guarantee, to fire on Game 5 of this Mavs T-Wolves series. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, Mark, but let's just give the people a little taste here. I know you cashed the under last night, but scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that the Mavs were unable to finish off that series last night at home?
I mean, all these games have been relatively close throughout. If you look at the way they've gone, no one's really jumped out to a 20-point lead and then somebody came roaring back to make it tight at the end. We saw that a little bit with Boston and Indiana, right? Like Boston was able to, especially in game 1, they built, I think, a 12 or 15-point lead, and Indiana came all the way back at one point. So I'm not surprised that Minnesota got it done, but it's kind of what I talked about last night. I mean, yes, Dallas got right to 100, but the idea that Minnesota is going to win a basketball game right now, allowing their opponent to score 105, 108 points, it doesn't add up. The Minnesota offense is not getting enough all around. They got enough last night, but they're not getting enough all around here for you to believe that they're going to be able to win. I mean, again, the last 5 wins for the Minnesota Timberwolves this postseason, they've all stayed under the total. Every other game that they've lost since the beginning of the Denver series has gone over the total. So make of that what you will. About when we talk about trends and everything else, I think that's going to hold true to form. Now, again, we got fortunate because that was the highest total that we saw in this series at 211.5 yesterday. So I think it'll come down in the next game just a hair, but still enough for me to believe that if Minnesota is going to win the thing, guess what? They're going to have to hold Dallas to 100 points or less.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned when they win with defense. This was a tremendous defensive team during the regular season. Number 1 in opponents' 2-point field goal percentage. That is key. Now, you look at Dallas last night, Luka didn't have a lot of help. Kyrie Irving, we thought, Mr. Closeout game, he didn't have a good game. But you mentioned the total. The number is down just a tick for Game 5. Look at the WagerTalk.com live odds screen. 209.5 is where the total is as of Wednesday morning. The spread is up to 4.5, opening at 4. Interesting little tidbits. And there's, with Minnesota winning last night, there has still never been an instance of both conference finals being 4-game sweeps.
Yeah.
Last year, if you remember, there was a chance that was going to happen. But Miami failed to sweep Boston. And then what happened? That series all of a sudden went to 7 games. Could it be deja vu all over again, if you will? Minnesota favorite. No. I think Minnesota's going to be a popular bet. I don't know if they can get this thing to 7. But, man, I mean, this is a team. Are they going to really lose 3 straight at home to Dallas? They lost the first 2 at home. I mean, that mindset, I don't know. That's sticking with me here. I mean, I hate the word momentum. But Minnesota, man, really seems to have it coming off that win. And, they have led in the final 5 minutes of every single game in this series. That needs to be pointed out as well.
Yeah, again, I mean, closing out is important. Look, I'll say this much. Again, I don't think that Minnesota is going to come roaring back as much as, a lot of people are feeling like that's a possibility. Dallas has shown what they're capable of. And when you talk about getting no help, Kyrie Irving going 1 for 6, like in reality, guys, I mean, that's sort of the anomaly with way Kyrie's played, and 1 extra bucket, 1 extra sort of thing that goes their way. And oh, by the way, I mean, Luka was fouled on a 3 last night, right? I think he was fouled twice in the final 2 minutes on a 3, if I remember correctly. Like, Minnesota's needed a lot of fortune to get to this point. If Minnesota would have come out and actually dominated a game, that might give me a little bit more reason to be like, okay, they finally showed up. They finally look like the team that was able to handle Denver. They haven't looked like that team that's been able to handle Denver. So I'm a little bit hesitant to think that they're going to push this thing anything past 6 games at most.
Gotcha. Well, we'll have more on it tomorrow when Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals goes down, but that is it for today on The Morning Wager. He is Mark Zinno. I am Bryan Power. Until next time, let's cash some tickets.